Good evening. I'm calling the October 13th, 2020 regular council meeting to order. Please note that Deputy Mayor Stende and Councillor Schwab are attending virtually this evening. First order of business is the adoption of the October 13th agenda. Administration, do you have any additions?
Yes, Your Worship, just one under confidential. That would be 13.2, section 23.
Thank you. Councillor Appel?
Thank you. Just a question. As per our last meeting minutes, I believe we were due to receive the CAO report today.
Thanks for the reminder, Councillor. I was going to do the CAO report, but I thought it would, might as well just wait till the 27th meeting, not that far off.
Oh.
Thank you. Are there any other additions from council? Not seeing any. Could I get a motion to accept? Councillor Olford?
I'll move to accept the agenda as amended.
Debate? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on, we have no delegations. We have no public hearings. Business arising from the minutes, 5.1, utility bylaw, Director Waring.
Thank you, Worship Council. So bylaw 125020 is presented tonight for third and final reading, the utility bylaw for the town of Blackfalds. This bylaw will require private landowners that were previously on private services to be connected to our utility infrastructure within the roadway within a year's time of the roadway services being available. The bylaw will also assist in protecting the environment as it relates to our water and sewer systems, as well as our wastewater, our stormwater systems. The bylaw is before council for third and final reading tonight and does include some final legal edits and minor revisions that have been made since second reading of the bylaw on September 8th. These edits and revisions are shown with attachments as markups for council reference. It is of note that the time frame for connecting the services is now stipulated in the bylaw. Upon final review, the utility division will move forward with requesting the account agreements for all utility account holders to follow the new bylaw regarding fees and correspondence criteria when dealing with owners and occupants. So what we did is we, legal came back and changed 3 definitions, a bit of the revisions of the languages in 3 or 4 parts, as well as the addition of the time period as requested by council. All the revisions that have been done here have been reviewed by legal, and we're hoping that the third reading passes tonight.
Are there any questions from council? Not seen any. Does anyone wish to make a motion? Councillor Hoover?
Thank you. I will make the motion that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 1250.20 being the utility bylaw.
Is there any debate on that motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously.
Thank you, Worship Council.
Moving along, we have the RFP for Demolition Award.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Yes, we put up the RFP for the demolition of the homes and the preparation of the parking lot at that site. And, so we drafted the RFP and excuse me, to demolish the homes and prepare the parking lot to be ready for asphalt and for parking and lay down area for downward construction. This project will also include the removal of the existing RV dump station and the addition of temporary pedestrian lanes to cross Broadway from the parking lot to the multiplex. We received 5 proposals from DB Bobcat, Alex Excavating, Cowell Construction, Road Bridge Services, and Consolidated Environmental Services. DB Bobcat came in with a low bid of $373,654.27. And, yeah, so with DB Bobcat being a low bid, we'd like to move that, we'd like to get their approval to move forward with this project.
Thank you, Manager Hendel. Council, I think I saw Councilor Taylor have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to question, I know that we have a few homes there that we have to remove. Is this all the homes that are gonna come down, or this is just gonna be the older ones closer to the parking lot?
So the duplex, and then the 2 homes in that one concrete block building.
Just to comment with that, one of those homes was purchased a long time ago, and it's part of our, what we need to do to put a road through. So it's not the way it reads here, it's part of the multiplex expansion, but in truth, that's actually part more of us carrying Broadway through the rail crossing, right? So that one home that goes down, it's a shared cost. And I just wanted to break that out, mention it anyways.
Thank you. Are there, Deputy Mayor Stende?
So I just have one question, just because we can't see the actual proposals that came in, could you explain to us why there was such a huge difference between DB Bobcat and number 3, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Cowell Construction? There's almost a $700,000 difference between the 2, and I'm just wondering what the reasoning for that was.
I don't know. I've seen lots of bids come in for many projects, and sometimes there's a huge discrepancy between companies. I didn't dive into it to see why one would be $1 million and one would be 373. I know DB Bobcat is local. They're on site working with Delnor on that project, so they might have just worked really hard to get this project too.
Subsequent? Go ahead.
Yes, just subsequent. If we go with the lower bid, are we guaranteed that it is going to stay at that cost? We're not going to be incurring additional expenses as this project continues?
Well, it's not a similar contract like the Delmore project. I can't foresee. The DB Bobcat came and did a site visit. They investigated the homes. They know the area, but I can't guarantee that there might not be something that comes up that might make it go up a little bit. But I sorry to be vague, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be 373. But from their proposal, they covered everything.
CEO Thompson?
Your worship, we will enter into a contract with DB Bobcat, and as Manager Heidel explained, DB Bobcat were very thorough in their review of the project. They received all the environmental assessment information and are clear with what has to be done from that point of the work as well. So the town has worked with the DB Bobcat on previous projects, so we have confidence in their abilities.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Taylor?
I'm prepared to move that council accept the proposal from DB Bobcat Services Limited to undertake the work as described under the RFP number 2020-RSD01 in the amount of $373,654.27.
Thank you. Any debate on that motion? Not seen any. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Pell?
Thank you. I'd like to move the council directs administration to enter into a formal contract with DB Bobcat Services Limited to undertake the work as described under RFP number 2020-RSD01.
Thank you. Any debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Moving along, 6.2, bylaw 124920, and Manager Wilson.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. I'm bringing for you tonight bylaw 1249.20 for the Records and Information Management bylaw. We are looking for second and possibly third readings tonight, if it's available. Do you have any questions? Nothing has changed since the first readings.
So this has been before us in both standing committee and in first reading. Council, are there any questions or comments? Not seen any. Councillor Hoover.
I will motion the council move to give second reading to bylaw number 124920, being the Records and Information Management bylaw for the town of Blackfalds.
Debate on the motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Councillor Olford.
I'll move that council move to give third reading to bylaw 1249.20, being the Records and Information Management bylaw for the town of Blackfalds.
Thank you. Any debate on that motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And we're moving on to 6.3 at this time, and that would be the policy 14420, which is also record management.
Yes, Your Worship. We brought this policy to you in September, and we had a discussion about it, and we took some of your comments and addressed them in the policy. So tonight we're asking for approval of this policy.
Thank
Are there
you.
any questions?
Council, are there any questions regarding the policy? Not seen any. Councillor Taylor?
I'll move that council approve the Records and Information Management Policy number 144.20 for the town of Blackfalds.
Thank you. Any debate on the motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to 6.4. Development Officer Proclamation. Director Warren?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So the Development Officers Week proclamation this year is on October 26th to the 30th. As a municipality, we've celebrated this Development Officers Week for the last couple of years. The ADOA board has decided to maintain some normalcy and is requesting that municipalities proclaim the week of October as Development Officers Week. Administration would like to recognize the energy, resources, and skills it takes to keep our residents and businesses that live and work in Blackfalds apprised of our bylaws and development requirements to maintain development within the town. Therefore, administration is asking council to officially proclaim October 26th to the 30th as Alberta Development Officers Week in the town of Blackfalds. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Powell?
Sorry, I don't have a question. I was prepared to move. I would move that council proclaim October 26th to 30th, 2020 as Alberta Development Officers Week in the town of Blackfalds.
Any debate on that motion? I'd like to say that we have had very many compliments regarding our planning department and the hard work that they do. We're looking forward to them bringing the whole land use bylaw back to us later on, sometime this year. And how many officers are there down there, and what are some of the things that they actually do for us? We don't have a mic.
The mic's broken, so I'll just speak up a little bit. So we've got Terry, Billy, and Patty that are all development officers downstairs. And they all deal with any development that come in. They review it, whether it be a sign permit or a building permit or a subdivision application. They're the ones that outline through the LUB as to what the town and ultimately council want to have as far as development nodes in the town. We've got a number of land uses from commercial to industrial to residential, as well as subcategories of those. And really, the Alberta development officers are there to ensure that consistent development is done through our statutory plans and the MGA.
Thank you. Any further questions? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And CEO Thompson?
So we have a member resignation from the policing committee, member Cam Wetzel. He was appointed last year at the organizational meeting, has been our youth member on the committee, and he will be attending the U of A with his studies, and he's also playing football, so he will not be able to contribute to the committee, and therefore he has submitted his resignation, and that's been received and accepted by the committee. So administration's recommendation is for council to accept his resignation this time.
Thank you. And it's good timing because we will be going into the organizational meeting, and at that point we'll be able to look at it. Councillor Olford?
Yeah, I'll move that council accepts the resignation of member Cam Wetzel with regrets.
Thank you. Debate on that motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Moving along, we'll go ahead, Councillor Patel.
Just a point, could we have someone adjust the screen over there real quick for Teams? Because Councillor Stanley, I don't think we'll be able to see if she raises her hand.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patel. Moving along to action correspondence. 7.1, the most funding. We received correspondence from MLA Orr. Does anybody have any questions regarding the funding? We do have our Director DeBresser if there are any questions regarding that. Not seeing any. What I would like to suggest is that we have administration pen a letter for MLA Orr and Minister of Municipal Minister there, thanking them for the funding and expressing our appreciation. So that's why I put this under action correspondence. Does anybody wish to make that motion? Councillor Taylor?
I'll make that a motion.
Do you need further
Do you need-
explanation as far as, is that good enough? Thank you
It's
very
a-
much. Does everybody understand the motion? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Moving on to information correspondence, or pardon me, information. 8.1, Director's Quarterly Reports. We have 3 of them. Councillor Pell?
Thank you. I just had one question, which I guess will be for Manager Handel. With the drive-in movies that we had for Alberta Culture Days, it said that we fit 104 vehicles at All-Star Park, which I thought was great. I was just curious, what is our maximum capacity for vehicles?
I do not know that. I did hear that they could have some more cars, but I didn't hear, I don't know if we've ever worked out a maximum. We haven't turned anyone away.
Yeah, okay.
But I could talk to the staff that worked and see if they could give me an estimate.
I would love to know, just to know what percentage of full we were, just
Yeah.
for the back of my brain. But I was pretty impressed. I thought 104 cars was great. So,
I'll let you know.
Councillor Hoover?
And just a quick question on Director Warren, I would assume, from infrastructure and property owners, it states on it for number 2 that working with landowners to finalize utility right-of-way agreements. Just curious, what part of town is that occurring? Is that for the east stormwater or?
There's only one, area that's outstanding, it would be the northwest. So it's the northwest. As well as there's, a number of other little things that come up on a daily basis in relation to some other non-capital projects, but that's the majority of it.
Okay, thank you. While you're at the mic, Director Waring, it says that planning and development is still working on the land use bylaw revision. When can we expect that to come before council?
We're looking at finalizing it internally, and then it'll be before council. I'm hoping before the new year, but more than likely based off of the number of council meetings we have left and the standing committee and some of our work plans, it might end up going into the new year. We also have to get a senior review on that as well once it's finalized. But we're very close. We've gone through a number of different areas and brought everything up to where we'd like to see it, and then it'll be up to council to see where we want to finalize that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for any of the 3 directors? If not, then we'll move on to 8.2. Building and development. Are there any questions on that? Report 8.3, report to council on enforcement services. No questions? 8.4, report to council on vote on demand insights. Found this quite interesting for the first month to have the information in front of us. Of course, it was a free service during that month, so it'll be interesting in the subsequent months to see what we can do to maintain the levels and to increase questions, answer questions. And do you have any?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. We did get the first 5 days of the paid service, and we are down a bit. We're down by about 40% of our ridership, so we'd be on track to hit about 125 riders this year. But again, that was through the Thanksgiving break here as well too, and before it. So we're hoping that as the economy improves and people get back to work, that those riderships increase, as well as we're looking at ways to improve the service. I know in this report we did do 2 minor changes to the schedule. We'll look at bringing forward some more changes like that in the near future. It's very easy to make the changes, and it's just awesome to see all these numbers at tip of our fingers.
Excellent. Councillor Powell?
Thanks. I actually, I have 2 questions. So just one, on the very first page, it's talking about PAX, P-A-X. Can you please explain what P-A-X is? So this is the very first ridership, 228 completed PAX. Is that round trip? And then underneath it says PAX per shared ride, and I tried and I couldn't figure out what PAX was supposed to be.
I'm gonna have to get back to you. I'm not 100% sure what that means.
Okay.
I believe that's something to do with the the app itself and its conversion rate, but I'll actually have to look through the indicators to answer that for you.
Because I would love to know. And then a subsequent as well. Have we found, or have the drivers noticed, do we have any kids taking it to school, like within our community, as opposed to paying for busing if they live outside their 2.1 kilometer radius?
I have had nobody that's used the service for that. That being said, we are looking to talk to City of Red Deer and see if that's a viable option. I know that one person did look at it and they said, well, they have to get a second pass for Red Deer, so we're looking at a shared fee structure or something along those lines, but yeah, there was really only one inquiry on that, and I know that there is option of taking that bus there at the northern hub, but I think it's a little bit off time too, so taking quite a bit. So I think that one inquiry, they ended up just doing something temporarily for this year.
I was actually just wondering about students within our own community, like elementary school students, because I get that.
So you mean students going locally from one side of the town to the other side of the town?
Students that live just outside of the busing requirements that their parents might not want them to walk across 2A.
So until we know, like, there really wasn't, like, there was a couple local services, but we'd actually have to dig into some of those numbers to see. But I'm pretty sure there's not very many. Like, local service is only 30% of our rider base. The majority of it, 65%, is that commuter service back to Red Deer.
Any other questions? Moving on to 8.5. Snow removal survey results. Deputy Mayor Stende.
Okay, so I know a lot of our residents say that they don't want to do the surveys. I have seen comments about how they think it's a waste of time. They don't think that council reads them. I am here to assure everyone that I am certain the rest of council reads every single comment on every one of the surveys that we receive. On this particular survey, I have a comment and then I have a question. A common theme that I'm seeing in the comments this year are the same things that I have said year over year, prioritizing spending and removing additional costs. Some of the things that residents mentioned this year were flowers, new decorations at Christmas time and rebranding for a start. Our budgets need to reflect the current times, which is one of yet another recession, a pandemic, and a provincial government dead set on cutting municipal funding as much as possible. We owe it to our residents to tighten our belts and stop the unnecessary spending. We really need to look at our budget this year to see creatively where we could cut expenses. And then my question was, last year, several councillors, including myself, asked why we were not ticketing more proactively for sidewalks that are not being cleared. It appears that residents feel the exact same way. Instead of multiple warnings, I would very much like to see tickets being issued for sidewalks not being cleared and vehicles not being moved in time for road clearing.
Thank you.
Is this something that we can implement? Is this something that we could look at?
As is in the report, this is going to be coming back to council later on, and those are the types of discussion that we will have at that point, and we'll be looking at it. We'll be having an open discussion. Any other, Councilor Taylor, did I see your?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I see a lot of the comments were around a lot of areas that didn't actually get snow removal last year. And I know that oversight was quite a bit, probably the biggest bulk of people being upset. And I know it might not have met the criteria somewhere along the way, but by the time it did, we were kind of on to other things. And it was one of those things is, I know my neighbors came over and mentioned it to me. So because we were in a close. So it's one of the things that we have to really pay attention to, because when we read this, the satisfaction just isn't there. That service didn't happen.
Director Warren?
Yeah, so our snow removal policy this year, we actually went out and measured the criteria. And at that time, we didn't meet the criteria, so we did not meet the criteria. I know in previous years, I have directed staff to go out there and do a little bit more because there's snow in there, but this year, we really didn't want to be pushing up empty windrows and hauling nothing away. So that's why we made the decision to maintain the normal service levels, and we wouldn't have been able to go in there and remove that little bit of snow. I know we've gotten a lot of complaints about residents saying that the snow was up over the sidewalk and things like that. The majority of those cases, talking to my public works people, was because those people had shoveled the driveway onto the sidewalk, and that's why there was that thickening. However, in the other 5 or 6 spots where they would check that road, it would be well within the parameters. Last year was a difficult year with that really, really warm spring, and we normally would go in there and do extras just so that we didn't have to have that big mucky mess in the spring, but the weather and the manpower just didn't require it this year.
Again, I think that this is something that is going to be coming back to council, and we'll have a really honest and frank discussion about what is happening. And I think that'll be a more appropriate place to really have this discussion. For myself, I'd like to thank administration and especially Public Works for putting out this survey to receive feedback from our citizens. I look forward to the analysis of the document and look forward to hearing what changes you feel could be made and allowing council to make those decisions. I would also like to thank all the respondents who provided constructive feedback and made comments about how the increased service levels could happen, and sometimes at the expense of other programs. I'm hoping that those folks who made those comments also took the time to go into our citizen budget and to show council in good form exactly what increases and decreases in services might be required. There's a lot of feedback and there's going to be a lot of discussion around it, and I look forward to having this discussion when it comes back by Public Works. Are there any other questions or comments regarding this? Go ahead, Councilor Taylor.
I will reserve this, where I was going to go with this, to when we have our formal discussion, because there are a few points I would like to bring up.
And I think that's exactly where I agree that there are a lot of comments. Deputy Stende, yourself, everybody has them, and I really look forward to that discussion. Okay, moving forward to the capital budget. Well, it is just for information at this point. I'm not asking you to present the capital budget at this point, but just to answer any question that might be available.
I'm here ready to answer questions.
Deputy Mayor Stende.
Just a question, number 6 under vehicle replacement, $90,000 for a Ford 1-ton 4x4 replacement. That seems extraordinarily high. And I was just wondering if we are purchasing brand new or if we have looked at potential for maybe purchasing a 1-year-old lease back. I was curious as to why that cost is so high.
CEO Thompson?
Yeah, Your Worship, that is a 1-ton cabin chassis with a deck box to meet the functions for the field work, like storage of generators and things like that. I believe it might even be a dump box. So a lot of the cost is for the deck and box that will be installed on the cabin chassis. We have looked at buying fairly new units in the past, but because we utilize our equipment for an extended period of time, we're better off buying new. We get a government rate. In some cases, like for the deck box and things like that, we purchase that through RMA and get a preferred rate as well. So because we keep these vehicles 10 to 15 years, we're better off buying new and not having a lot of the breakdowns and repairs that can come if you buy a vehicle that's had some hard use, say in the oil patch or something.
Deputy Mayor?
Sorry, and then just subsequent, if I may, under land improvements, new, number 17, annual trail development. I was just curious if the new trail connection between East Point Drive and McKay Ranch is something that we find necessary this year. Is that something that we can't put off for a year where we're not dealing with a pandemic and number crunching?
So I would suggest that right now, we're going to be going into budget meetings, and those type of discussions are the ones that we're going to be bringing forward at that point. And we're going to be having a really good discussion about all these items. These are the items that are going to be put on the capital budget when we have our budget meeting discussion. So, you know, as to whether or not that's appropriate or that's there or not, I think it's better left for that meeting discussion rather than put administration on the spot at this point. Councillor Powell?
Thank you. So I did just have one question, and it was brought up by a county council member, sorry. With our road repaving, so both the annual pavement replacement as well as the work that we have to do with the Womax and Greg Street realignment, have we discussed at all or thought about having discussion with the county in order to, because they purchased quite a few kilometers of paving they need to do every year. So they get quite a discounted rate. So have we talked to them at all if there's a way we can piggyback off of, not piggyback, but be a part of that? Because it was brought up by Lacombe County that maybe that's what we should be doing. And we should be having that conversation with them.
Yeah, no, we haven't actually talked to them about actual coordination. I know in the ICF meetings, we did talk about combined services. A number of times there's a lot different pavement structure between urban road and a rural road.
Okay.
And then also further to that, these items here for replacement, which include sometimes curb and gutters so that you can go in and repave it. That's not saying that we can't look at those in the future. Yeah, it's a good suggestion.
Yeah, they brought it forward in our meeting, so I just wanted to bring it along. Thanks.
And the only points that I have are on the spreadsheet. If you could maybe either have a defining box or utilize the FGT, MSI, SCF as full names for the public who are reading this, and they may not be aware of what all the grants are. And if just find some way to define that so that when a person looking at this, there's no way that they're confused about what they are talking about.
Sure, I did actually refer to the funding in the memo as well. I expanded out the names in the memo as well. So.
A lot of people just look at the spreadsheet and that's what they do.
For sure, I'll probably put bullet points down below just so they can tie the two together.
Good. Are there any other questions regarding capital projects? So we'll move along to the 10-year capital review. Questions or comments? Not seeing any. I guess the only question I have is with the municipal sustainability funding, do these numbers are consistent over the next 10 years? And I'm wondering, are they utilizing the new LGFF funding formulas?
They are not. I've assumed that the funding will stay stagnant. And that's an assumption that we make today. Of course, it will change year over year. If we do decrease or increase in that funding, the capital plan will adjust. The framework hasn't been released yet, so we're winding down the MSI capital portion. I think 2021 or 22 is when the new framework comes out. And it's based on provincial revenues as well. So I haven't delved into what that looks like for us, but definitely will be reflected in the plan going forward. I try and identify what projects will be eligible for the MSI capital and use funding, what is available. And then if we have to top up through general capital or any other funds, I'll pretty much do that.
Has provincial government not released the LGFF funding over the next 3 years after MSI is scheduled to finish? I've seen a lot of figures that show what the predictions are.
Yeah, sorry, I'll make note of that and go back and reflect it in your budget binders that get released at the end of the month. But at this time, I know that 2021 we are getting that's the funding that we are eligible. So.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, Canadian Pacific Railway email. We had a memo. We had an email from our manager, and he was really quite disappointed they're not able to provide the train this year. They have guaranteed that they will continue funding for the charities that they normally support, and I think that we need to commend CP for their continued support of our community. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I see that you replied, but were you thinking that we should do a formal letter?
We could do it, or we could wait until we actually got the funding from them, and then make sure that that is earmarked and do the reply then. Which is your preference?
I'm fine with waiting when we get the funding. I was just saying, I didn't know if you wanted action then.
Great. Any other questions? 8.9 Municipal Commission meeting minutes for September 8th, 2020. .10 Recreation Cultural Parks meeting, September 2nd. .11 Macomb County highlights. And 8.12 City of Lacombe Council highlights. Are there any of those items that council wishes to go back and have a further discussion about? If not, I'll look for a motion to accept for information. Councillor Hoover?
I'll motion we accept information items as information.
Debate? All in favor? Carried unanimously. We have no round table tonight. Adoption of the minutes for September 21st. Are there any errors or omissions? Not seeing any. Somebody wish to make a motion? Councillor Powell.
Thank you. I move to approve the minutes as presented.
Debate on the motion? All in favor? That is carried unanimously. We have no notices of motion. Does anybody have anything for good of the council? Moving on, we do have confidential items tonight. Does council wish to go for a break? Councillor Olford?
I'll move a 5-minute recess.
Thank you. Debate on the motion, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. And we are adjourned at 7:44.